I have gone live. So we are live. This is another instance of the magisterial live stream for modernists. So I'll wait until I see some folks popping up in the chat before I say too much. But since the last live stream, there has been a patch. That patch has added the character of Blade. Who I've been playing a fair amount over the last week. He's an interesting character. He's sort of like a cross between Wolverine and Winter Soldier, maybe. Old Blade is. So, yeah, he's interesting. He has some interesting twists beside that, too. But, yeah. So Blade is kind of cool. You may have seen I uploaded a couple of Blade things onto the YouTube channel. But, yeah, that's really it. They didn't add another new map. Blade was really pretty much it for the second half of this season. There was also an event thing, which, as you can see, I have completed by now. But which had some interesting things. We're still getting symbiote and Phoenix themed stuff.
Retribution.
So that's an animated spray, by the way, which is, I think, the first one of those. But they did a Phoenix version of Black Widow. They did a symbiote thing. And they did the Queen in Black Hela skin. Yes, that is Hela. So, my favorite Twin Peaks theory is the one that I used to push way back in the day on the Usenet group, alt.tv.twinpeaks, in the early 90s. Which was that the Black Lodge and the White Lodge are not separate places. It is the single lodge theory. And that that's why you have the black and white checkerboard flooring. Because it is either the Black Lodge or the White Lodge, depending on who is there and how they experience it. My favorite soda is what was formerly called Pepsi Max, and then was, I think, Pepsi One at one point, and then I think Pepsi Zero Sugar at one point, and now I think they're calling Pepsi Black. I don't know, but that version, it is like the Coke Zero version of Pepsi, and that has been my favorite soda since release. I am a Pepsi person. Yeah, so Pepsi Clear, I remember trying back in the day. I remember trying it back in the day, and so when they brought it back briefly a couple of years ago, Crystal Pepsi, I was like, oh, hey, I remember that. Nostalgia, I'll buy it. It's vile. Like, Crystal Pepsi was, like, super vile. Like, it's like drinking club soda with not really any flavor. It's like you went to the Pepsi machine and there was no syrup in it, so you just got pure, like, carbonation. Like, it was just grotesque. But there was a big thing in the early 90s where everybody wanted to make clear stuff. because that, like, Zima, you know, like clear malt liquor, because they're trying to, you know, hey, it's clear, it's healthy, we didn't add chemicals and artificial coloring, so it's healthy. And it wasn't, of course, but there was a great, sometime around 93 or 94, Saturday Night Live did a parody commercial where they were selling clear gravy, which was about as gross as you would imagine clear gravy would look, being poured onto meat. It's sort of a clear goo. Oh, well. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, I guess, if the red heifer's been sacrificed. So also can confirm level 100 is the max level in Marvel Rivals. So that's a thing. But anyway, I'll go ahead and get started playing. Feel free to ask questions in the chat, as always.
Pick your hero. Or villain. I'm not judging.
I fight to end the darkness that spawned me.
Yeah, if we could just round up a couple more parishioners, we'd be like a full group. The other people you see me playing with on stream are parishioners.
My whole life, all
of mine.
I've known is the hunt.
For those who don't know.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
In the case of the man of 1,000 heresies, not necessarily my best parishioners or favorite parishioners, but parishioners.
This is our chance to purge some darkness. Let's, not waste it.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it? This is just a normal Tuesday.
So, that question was long and got cut off, but I think I have the general gist, like what's up with Hebrew roots people. Basically, Hebrew roots folks, it's Hebrew roots of Christianity. So, they're generally evangelicals who, and this is me being charitable, they're evangelicals who, having, by virtue of being evangelicals, been kind of divorced from a lot of the historical Christian traditions, in terms of feasts and fasting, etc., etc. They're evangelicals who have decided to embrace Jewish traditions. So they'll, like, celebrate some of the Jewish feasts, and fasts and stuff. Yeah, and so it's kind of a misguided thing, right? Because there are, of course, Christian feasts and Christian traditions. Christian transformations of those Jewish feasts.
Takes a lot more than that to put me
if
down.
they can get past their sort of Romophobia that's been bred into them as evangelicals, right? It might help them see that. And part of the problem is that they're not really discriminating when it comes to those Jewish traditions. So a lot of those Jewish traditions are like late post-Christian rabbinical traditions that they're following, not like actual Second Temple Judaism or what have you. So that's another issue. did not play Cyberpunk 2077 myself, but my wife did, as she just posted, so I would go with her assessment of the game. Last note on the Hebrew Roots, folks.
Not in control here.
I think some of my material, like Religion of the Apostles, can be helpful with them because it helps them see that they've been taught that things like the intercessions of the saints and all of this is like pagan, is like intrusions into Christianity from paganism, and the result of Christianity losing track of its Jewish roots, right? And so, like in Religion of the Apostles, I kind of argue the opposite of that, right? Like I argue that no, those things come from Judaism, right? So that can help sometimes them to reframe. I'm not saying that just to sell my book. Bootleg it or steal it. Don't steal from your church bookstore. That's not good. But,
I am ready to put on a show. Undefeatable.
you steal from some capitalist enterprise, I don't care. So, online apologists, I mean, that's a big mixed bag. I really don't have any issue with most of them. If you're talking about people like Jay Dyer and stuff, like, my position on Jay Dyer is let Jay Dyer be Jay Dyer. You know? I don't do things the way he does things. I'm also a priest, you know, so, and he doesn't do things the way I do things, but whatever. We're not the same person.
Spilling blood to save the world.
So, yeah. Now, some of the people in the online Orthodox apologist space are not really Orthodox apologists. They've got some cuckoo idea or other that, you know, the church is all wrong, or everyone in the current church is wrong, and they've discovered the truth by reading some book or something, and they're going to correct everybody. Those aren't apologists. Those are wingnuts. So, them I have a relatively low opinion of. I think part of the framing of the question in terms of someone choosing between marriage and celibacy is wrong. Meaning, I don't think that's something you do or should be trying to do. I don't think anyone... I know from the experience of a lot of my friends and stuff that just setting out to get married, just being like, I want to get married, and going out and trying to find a person to marry you can go very badly, right? In terms of ending up with someone who maybe it wasn't the best idea for you to marry, but they were the first person who came along who was ready, willing, and able to do it. I've seen a lot of people on second marriages because of that kind of approach, and that's not something you want. So I think the question of marriage should always be a question of, should I marry this particular person? And so if you haven't met a particular person yet who you might want to marry, I think the question is kind of moot. Monasticism is itself a rare and special calling. Most people are not called to it. So again, deciding that you are based on sort of intuiting it, or especially deciding on it based on a lack of dating success or something, is also a very bad idea. Because, like I said, it's a calling, and if you don't have that particular calling from God, you're not going to be able to do it.
Takes a lot more than that to put me down.
So, yeah. I think if you're a young person especially, you should wait. And so, true story, and I've told my wife this before, but true story, I didn't think I was going to get
By
married.
the eye of Agamotto!
Even when I was first talking to Bishop Basil about going to seminary, I was convinced that I was not going to get married, that I was going to end up being a monastic. I was 30, right? Like,
Behold the god of
or near 30. And so I told Bishop Basil, you know, hey, I'm going to be going to seminary. When the time comes, I'm not planning on getting married, so, you know, don't worry about that, right? Like, and Bishop Basil's response to me was, well, you know, we'll wait and see what happens. And not long after that, I met the woman who would become my wife. And when she and I got engaged, I sent an email to Bishop Basil letting him know. And thanking him for telling me to wait and see. So, for that wisdom. So I am speaking in part on that from personal experience. It's okay to think about it and to consider it, right? But it's not a decision that you need to make with a certain deadline, right? Yeah.
back in the game.
I am ready to put on a show.
I swear they will. My favorite!
You captured more than half of the mission area. Keep going. Control lost. Let's keep fighting until we have a winner.
The stakes just got raised.
Yeah, I only got the first half of that repost, so I need the second half reposted. But yeah, that comment I made was that I tend to get a lot of questions from inquirers and catechumens that are about
Spilling blood to save the world.
some obscure doctrinal or theology stuff, like about the filioque or about, you know, that kind of thing. And I wish that I would get more questions about things like repentance and
30 seconds before you attack.
prayer
Get
and
ready.
that kind of thing.
Ah, the world-famous Luna Snow. I remember you from a long time
Well, I mean, that would...
ago. Oh my God, you're right.
That would be very much, how to repent or how to pray would be very much tailored to them and their situation, right? I mean, like, repentance always involves what we're repenting of. And so inquirers and catechumens come from all kinds of backgrounds.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Somebody who's dealing with
All you need to do is
drug
capture
and
the
or
mission
alcohol
area.
addiction versus somebody who's dealing with porn addiction versus somebody who's
Any timeline has
dealing with, you know, anger issues, right? There's going to be different things and different ways to approach that. And the same thing with prayer. That's going to depend a lot on their circumstances, their daily schedule, work, school, schedules, right?
The mission area is yours to capture now.
But that's part of what I wish, right? I wish that the questions were more about, like, actual practical things about their life, about the life they're going to be living as an Orthodox Christian, rather than just sort of the heady sort of stuff.
Force burst. Shields up. The mission area is yours.
气贯长龙。
Just the Blade character who I'm playing right now is the new content since the last stream. So Blade has this shotgun for range stuff, and then as you've been seeing, he also has his sword attacks. And when you trigger this mode, he does vampiric regeneration, right? So he heals based on the damage he does. but it also nerfs all his other healing. So you have to use it kind of sparingly because it's hard for other people to heal you when you're using it, right? And that is his ultimate, is the 1,000 cuts thing. With what looks like the lasers. Cue the techno music. Yeah, I think Whistler's gonna be really low on the list somehow. Of characters to add. It would be cool, but
I could use this.
yeah, I said on the last Lord of Spirits that
I'm back, baby.
that there were no great saints listening to that Lord of Spirits episode. And somebody actually got in touch with us like, how do you know that? Right? And I was like, well, I know that because if there was a great saint listening, they would be the first one to agree with what I said. All is well as far as I know.
Takes a lot more than that to put me.
I am well, the dogs are well. All is well. Let me know if you start getting hit by ads, so I can give my ad spiel the one time for the stream.
Silver bullet.
Fox was planning one for a long time, was planning a Silver Surfer movie spinning off of Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, but it got killed. There was a short-lived, but pretty good Silver Surfer cartoon series on Fox back in the 90s. They're like, by short-lived, I mean like one season. And I don't even know if they showed all the episodes. But, like, Harlan Ellison wrote a bunch of the episodes and stuff. Like, it was like top-flight sci-fi stuff.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
My favorite thing about that Iron Man cartoon show was that they made the Mandarin green inexplicably. Well, not inexplicably. They made him green for no obvious reason other than it makes him look less racist than he did in the comics at the time. Alien Earth, the first two episodes I really liked. I liked Josh Hawley's stuff. The first few seasons of the Fargo series I thought were really good. I loved his Legion series. Like, his Legion series is the X-Men show that nobody knows existed. It was only 3 seasons long on FX. The show Legion. It was Legion like Professor X's son Legion. And that show was amazing. It was like, just watching the first episode, it's like if, oh, what's his name? His name now just left. It's like if Wes Anderson made an X-Men show.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds.
Like, you get that vibe from the first episode. So that's amazing. There was some Lynchy stuff in there too. There's a Bollywood dance number. There's a rap battle in one episode in a later season. There's a dance-off. There's animated sequences.
The battle starts in 5, 4.
Oh, people are getting ads.
2, 1. You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
Well, yeah, that's the way the Legion show is written. The first episode and stuff is totally confusing, but the more of it you watch, the more it starts to come together. Because it's not even written in a linear way. There's flashbacks and flash forwards and yeah. So if you haven't seen it, I think you can still watch it on Hulu. The 3 seasons of Legion are amazing. But that's the guy, that's the dude who made Alien Earth. And so the first 2 episodes I thought were pretty great. There's some stuff that's a little anime-ish, but I'm not a total anime hater. And they definitely had me. This isn't a spoiler, really. The final scene of the second episode, and then the credits have a Tool song playing over it. So the soundtrack's awesome to Alien Earth. So yeah, if you like Alien, Alien Earth is really good. If you like Predator at all, I did not watch Alphas. They played H. Yes, I'm a massive Tool fan, as is my wife. And have been since the beginning. I'm gonna add hipster you. Like, I got the Opiate EP when I was in undergrad in college, and like, me and all my friends were like passing the CD around, like all through the dorm. Like going, who is this drummer? That's amazing. But yeah. Like, they all grow on me. Like, every time one comes out, I'm like, I don't know, and then it grows on me, but probably still Enema is probably my favorite.
A nice deep freeze.
But 10,000 Days has grown on me a lot, too.
I knew you cared. Please, give me a sample.
If you like, so while we're on the Alien topic, if you like Predator, they did an animated Predator movie that's also on Hulu. That is amazing. It's all animated, but without any real spoilers, the frame device, like, there's separate animated sections. And the frame device is like the Predators are going, like, from place to place, getting, like, the greatest warriors, right? Like in history. And so you get, like, Vikings versus Predator. You get, like, Samurai versus Predator. Like, all in one animated movie. It's pretty sweet. So since the ads hit, I will do the thing and point out to people that if you don't want to watch those, you don't have to pay me money. If you have Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription every month. You use that free subscription on my channel, you won't see any ads. So get rid of those ads by using your Amazon Prime subscription. Costs you no money. Bezos doesn't need that money.
They've made it halfway! Stop them!
I don't write things down. That's Father Andrew's thing. He writes these scripts. I'll let you in behind the scenes. He'll like write out all this stuff he's gonna say, like in Lord of Spirits and stuff. And that's why you'll hear me like butting in and interrupting him and trying to throw him off. Because anytime he's reading something he wrote down, I have to mess with him.
You stop them in their tracks.
Clearly, the top two actors on News Radio were Phil Hartman and Dave Foley. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I hadn't really been keeping track of it, but I just found out today that apparently the Lord of Spirits conference, the second one here at the beginning of October, is like completely sold out. Like, not only are all the rooms at the Village sold out, but like fire code capacity, like commuter tickets, people staying elsewhere. So that's kind of crazy. I don't know if any of you guys are going. I frankly don't know why people would go to see me. I wouldn't go to see me, but hey, if you want to, that's cool, I guess. Oh yeah, that's like out of all of these sort of intro to Orthodox theology books that are floating around, I honestly think Losky's Mystical Theology of the Eastern Church is the best one, and the one people should most read.
Double KO. There's still a chance to stop them.
Non-Orthodox book, movie, whatever that Orthodox Christians watch. Spiritual benefit. Gosh, there's a movie that springs to mind, but it's a pretty rough watch, language-wise and stuff.
It's fighter time!
But it's a great movie. If I get in any trouble for this, I will deny all knowledge and I will delete the video on demand. So, Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia is actually an incredible movie about forgiveness. But it is hard to watch if you have any sensitivity to foul language at all.
This time.
Another epic victory! Big win!
I do not have a Discord. I do not do the Discord thing. I mean, yeah, I got it. Paul Thomas Anderson is just a great filmmaker. And a lot of it is really coming out of his, like, young Roman Catholicism. Right? Even though he's playing it out in a non-PG way. Magnolia also has the distinction of being the last movie in which Tom Cruise actually acted. And if you see it, you'll know what I mean when you see, like, a couple of his scenes. Like, you find out, oh, this dude isn't just a stuntman, like, he can actually act if he wants to.
No monster's getting the best of me.
Oh, and for the record, yes, I have been watching the new South Park episodes. They have been entertaining.
Okay, confession time.
We have like the first 20 some odd seasons of South Park on
You can do
DVD.
everything I can do and so much more.
But you can also
I am a person who comes from the 90s,
Right.
so
Like what?
Have you ever seen me heal anyone?
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
so I was never a big fan of King of the Hill. I love Mike Judge, like I love Office Space, like, but I was never a King of the Hill fan. My wife is, but I don't know that she can say on chat. I don't know if my wife has watched any of the new King of the Hill yet. But she used to watch King of the Hill when it was first on. But yeah, Office Space is amazing. Like, that's like an evergreen movie.
I like the cold.
And, yeah. I didn't watch the new Beavis and Butthead when Mike Judge brought that back. And that was pretty funny.
I've always walked around between
Well, also, Office Space came out in 1999, which was one of the truly great movie years of all time. Like, you can go and look up all the movies that came out in 1999. Like Office Space, Fight Club, the aforementioned Magnolia, like on and on and on. I was born in 1975.
A nice deep freeze.
So yes, the fact that I was born in 1975 means a couple months ago I turned 50.
Repairs are in order. You would have failed without me.
Yeah, Matrix came out. The original Matrix, the good one, came out in 99. I'm getting called an old man by my old lady, so there you go.
the stakes just got raised.
Enemy detected.
Yeah, you can tell how old somebody is by whether they acknowledge the Star Wars prequels. I still remember the first time my niece's husband said to me, in reference to The Last Jedi, he's like, yeah, it wasn't as good as the original 6. And I was like, the original 6?
See them? Right there.
What?
A nice deep freeze. Get that beast moving again.
Maximum pulse! Beholds the god of thunder! Best of both worlds.
Get that beast
Open season.
Please, my heart.
A thousand gods!
Only 60 seconds left.
Ultron's efforts.
They rode the lightning.
I was born ready.
Although we always have to accept Rogue One. Rogue One was awesome.
Hurricane. Turn around, you fool.
Down to 30 seconds.
This is real firepower!
There is little time.
I have a decently big beard right now. I haven't trimmed it in a while.
Get that vehicle moving again. The final 10 seconds. Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Although I do have to say, Rogue One did have one thing in common with Phantom Menace. And that is that the last 5 minutes made the movie. Look, the last 5 minutes is the best part. Well, in that way, it was unlike the Phantom Menace, right? But
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
I'll fight to end the darkness that spawned me.
here we'll get the panoramic view of Blade.
Escape pod ready. Opening escape capsule.
Spilling blood to save the world. I love my job.
30 seconds before
Oh, you're
your
gonna get
attack.
ads again?
Get ready.
You cannot hurt me.
Oh my
Yeah, I like the. I don't know if you can see him.
shark ever. Ah, look at those little feet.
The kicks they gave him.
I know.
Like they basically based his default outfit
And no, you
on the
can't.
movie version, but then they gave him these kicks.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
Yeah, the algorithm must be scanning the.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Doctor Strange portal fail.
I like the cold.
Well, you can bypass all them ads, whatever they're for, with your Amazon Prime free subscription. And I do have drops enabled, so any of you who play should be working on the new drops for season 2.5. Well, I don't use the term re-enchantment. I'm not a fan of it. That's Father Andrew does. I think Pajot does. But
I'm back.
I think, to me, the kind of concept that I think they're trying to get at, that I hope they're trying to get at, is
Real firepower!
the idea that you're not sort of approaching everything from a secular materialistic perspective. which even Christians tend to do, right? Somebody comes up to you and says a miracle happened, or they saw something, or whatever, and you're like, yeah, sure. Like, you're immediately skeptical, right? Of any claim of anything supernatural. With our own stuff, you know, it's a miracle, like, if there's no explanation, you know. But if we can come up with an explanation, then, oh, it's not a miracle, it's just whatever, right? That kind of thing. And so, I think really what we're talking about is just being attuned to spiritual realities in your everyday life.
This is real firepower!
By the eye of Agamotto!
Maximum pulse!
I am ready to put on a show!
Maximum pulse!
I've always walked the line between the living and undead.
Helena, not Jeff. They're the best little land shark.
Our next victim. Thanks for the shield.
Your quiet chat, are you mesmerized by my blading?
Not gonna lie, I like the cold.
The stakes just got raised.
This is real firepower! Enjoy the amplifier!
Be strong together.
Well, my wife will tell you I don't get excited, but yes, my Symbolic World course on the Book of Jubilees is starting on Tuesday. You can still sign up for it, I'm pretty sure, if you want to, if you haven't. It's going to be a 6-week course. 2-hour sections.
1,000 gods!
Sixth session is going to be a conversation between me and Pajot, because Pajot is taking the class.
The stakes just got raised.
Must read sections of the Old Testament. I think you should read the whole Old Testament. There you go. Honestly, though, I think people need to spend more time in the Torah, especially Deuteronomy. Everybody should spend some time in Deuteronomy. That's my answer.
By the eye of Agamotto!
I think I saw another question, but it slid past too fast. So, in real time, we are about 2/3 of the way through Numbers. I know they're still posting Exodus. I already talked about the Jubilees course. Were you not paying attention? Are you not entertained?
The right heroes could make all the difference.
I fight to end the darkness that spawned me.
So yeah, we are in real time way ahead of in whole council in the actual Bible study. We're way ahead of where we've been posting in whole Council of God. What they've been posting. So.
Spilling blood to save the world. I love my job.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong.
According to my scans, we're going up against some real heavy hitters.
Sounds like now would be a perfect time for a quick suit upgrade, Tony.
My armor's already as bleeding edge as it can be, Spidey. I'll be fine.
Oh, I wasn't
Sudbury
talking about
Devil.
your suit.
I have not,
Good for you,
but it
I
sounds
guess.
interesting.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, the most recent horror movie I saw that I really liked was Sinners. Is that Alien vs. Predator? AVP? And are you talking about the first movie, both movies, the comics? There's lots of Alien vs. Predator stuff. I think the first movie was better than the second movie. Although the second movie had one of the grossest scenes ever. I have seen Nefarious. I think Hereditary is the most realistic depiction of demonic activity. But very difficult to watch.
What do I hit next? I'm taking requests.
I will always.
My favorite Alien vs. Predator thing, though, actually, and this kind of bums me out because since Marvel bought Fox, they started doing omnibuses, like big hardcovers, reprinting all the old Alien and Predator comics, and they reprinted all of the old Alien comics in like 4 volumes, and they reprinted all of the Predator comics in 2 volumes, and they haven't done the Alien vs. Predator reprints yet. So I'm still waiting for that one. It'll only take 1 volume, but Chris Claremont, like guy who wrote the X-Men for 17 years, Chris Claremont, did a 12-issue Aliens vs. Predator miniseries back in the day, in the early 90s. That was amazing. He was at the time trying to get past just doing superhero stuff and do more sci-fi type stuff. So that's really good, but Marvel hasn't reprinted it, so, you know, you'd have to go and track down the individual issues at a comic store or something. So until Marvel does that reprint. Those reprint hardcovers, though, have some awesome stuff in them. Like, for example, I think it's volume 2 of the Aliens comics that includes... They took the original script of Alien 3 before Fincher came on, where Newton Hicks like survived and were main characters in it and stuff. Like, it's a very different story. It's a very different Alien 3. It's more of a direct sequel to Aliens. They took that original script and turned it into a comic book. So that's in there. That adaptation of that version of the story is in there, which is pretty cool. A lot of cool stuff by different folks at different points.
The hunt's not over yet. Open season.
Well, you know, there's fewer Orthodox priests in the U.S. It's less well known, and also I think that has less to do with the Catholic Church per se, and more to do with The Exorcist being one of the biggest horror movies of all time. So The Exorcist was just such a huge movie that it sort of, I think, set the paradigm for demonic possession movies going forward. And since that involved Catholic priests, the sort of, oh, we need an old priest and a young priest, and we need to, you know, all that kind of stuff. Kind of got set in stone there.
Whoa, that was too close.
So, as with many things, I don't think there was per se, just like there was not a decision made about what books would be in the Bible. I don't think there was actually ever a decision made about the feasts. I think it's something that happened in practice, right? And I think, for example, we have already within the book of Acts the apostles gathering in Jerusalem to celebrate Pascha, right? And I can't imagine that they got together and just celebrated the Jewish Passover and made no commemoration of the resurrection of Christ, right? Like, I'm just not buying it, right? That would be special pleading. Like, no, they did not in any way commemorate the fact that Jesus had risen from the dead on that day, right? I think obviously they did. And so it was a much more of a natural process, right, of these things. And then, like, they gathered for Pentecost. I think they were also, in addition to Pentecost, they're commemorating the coming of the Holy Spirit, right? Like, that's just a natural thing that happened. I think in some cases there was something more like a decision, in the sense that there are certain feasts, like say we just celebrated Theophany, right? And there's no markers in the biblical text or anything about when Theophany happened. And in fact, Theophany from a very early period, or not Theophany, Transfiguration, sorry. The Transfiguration. From a very early period, the Transfiguration happened, was celebrated in the West and in the East, radically different times. So in the West, it's celebrated like the beginning of Lent. And in the East, of course, it's celebrated in August. So you're talking about, like, almost 6 months apart. Like, almost directly opposite. And so I think there you have more of a decision being made. But even then, I think it was less a conscious decision that someone made and declared at some point. And more of a, people recognizing themes, for example, in the Feast of the Transfiguration that related to Sukkot, and connecting those two.
The hunt's not over yet.
Oh yeah, Doc Branson's, those lectures from Doc Branson on the Monarchical Trinity are amazing. Like, and they're a free resource out there on the internet. Like, if you're spending time watching YouTube and you haven't watched those, like, I question your decision-making processes.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
The stakes just got raised.
Down to 30 seconds.
So I too have always assumed that one must have existed, but there are no surviving full lectionaries, right? I mean, obviously we have, you know, Old Testament readings associated with particular feasts and times of year and things, right? That exists. We have that, obviously. But in terms of like a full lectionary, where you go like all the way through Old Testament books, the way there is in the West, there's no direct evidence that I should say that. There is some evidence that we had one. There is no direct evidence as to what it looked like. Other than, and this gets into the dating, right? Of when was that being used? When did it stop being used, if it existed? And then the relative dating of, for example, in Lent we read through Genesis and we read through Proverbs and we read through Isaiah, right? So then there becomes the question, is that part of it that has survived, or is that a completely different set of traditions than whatever it was originally? I would imagine that early on, especially very early on, like we're talking about the 1st century, right? Like, I would imagine that the Jewish lectionaries were still being used. Right, the Jewish Torah portions from the Second Temple period, as they were laid out in the Second Temple period, and then the readings from the prophets. There weren't really readings from the writings yet at that point, because there's still a lot of disagreement about what should and shouldn't be included in the writings in the first century. But I imagine those were being used by Christians in the first century, probably into the second century.
The hunt's not over yet.
Yeah, the Western Rite one, I think, is just a pre-schism. It's based on a pre-schism Latin Old Testament lectionary.
We'll have to keep fighting until we have a winner.
No more tricks, Moonlight.
One step closer to saving the world.
I see them.
Another epic victory. Big win.
Escúchame. Vaya con Honda, I guess. I don't know. Deuteronomy in particular, because I think Deuteronomy is not commonly read. I think things like Genesis and the first half of Exodus are pretty commonly read out of the Torah. Oh, we lost the man of 1,000 heresies at some point. Coward. Yeah, and Deuteronomy has a lot of amazing content.
You'll need a ton
But mostly,
to win this one.
I'll fight to end.
the major theme of Deuteronomy is God's love for his people. So it'll blow your neighborhood Marcionite out of the water. Just a straightforward reading of it. Like, all by itself. Subway wants you back. You know you want meat and lettuce wrapped in a yoga mat. You know you want to eat that.
30 seconds before you attack.
And you can right now at Subway.
That's a mighty big sword for such a young lady.
This soul sword is my divine right to wield as the Queen of Limbo.
Well, if you happen to have another to spare, Your Majesty.
You want one? Conquer your own demonic.
It is true, I was at one point in my life a Subway
Battle
sandwich
starts in
artist.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Help get that vehicle to its destination.
No, technically Subway sandwiches do not involve bread. And legally in Europe, they can't call it bread. The Subway bread contains chemicals in it that are used in yoga mats. Yes, yoga mats. And legally it cannot be called bread in the UK because of the ingredients. So I went to a Subway in the UK.
Letting the dark child out.
And they asked me what kind of roll I wanted it on. They can call it a roll. They cannot call it bread.
Ride out. The world tree's life
You're
is in the
halfway there. Keep going.
Yes, yoga mat chemical. It's true.
You're not my queen. Not now, not ever.
So
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
in my quest to get canceled, I'll bring this up. A bunch of
Vehicle reached
I'd like to think they were well-meaning. White people in the 1970s did a translation of the Bible into Ebonics, called the Cotton Patch Translation.
We are undefeated.
I didn't name it that. I didn't name it that. They did. Okay? I'm just reporting. And that is the most messed up Bible translation I have ever encountered. By a good margin.
More than that to put me down.
By a goodly margin. So, yeah. White boomers, one of the many things they have to answer for is that right there. And yeah, it comes off just as racist as you would think based on what I just told you. As I say, I'd like to think they were well-meaning, but like, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to imagine just being that ignorant, but.
Feeling strong, real strong.
We are undefeatable.
Feel the wrath of the goddess.
You know, that first checkpoint went so easy. I think me mentioning that racist Bible translation, like, jinxed us. Put the whammy on us. Should have remained unsaid.
Go with the wind.
There we go. Someone has encountered it. Someone has encountered that Bible.
Takes a lot more than that to put me down.
You're halfway there. Keep going.
Today's weather report. The storm is...
Hassan Parker?
The hunt's not over yet.
Revenge.
If you're referring to famous streamer Hassan Parker, I've never actually watched one of his streams. I've watched some clips of him a few times.
Nice turret you got there, Castle.
I am ready to put on a show.
Incoming.
Got a med kit.
We are undefeatable.
Got a med kit.
There are some people who I watch who stream on Twitch, but I usually watch them on YouTube. I watch more YouTube than Twitch.
From destroying Idrisil. Too many things. I'll patch.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
Letting the dogs out.
No, my favorite,
I'm just dying.
Way to get your dark force on.
who would be my favorite living, Marxist? My favorite living Marxist is Living is probably Ben Burgess. I don't watch him anymore, really. I haven't watched anything from it in a long time, but because like Ben Burgess seems legit to me. He's like a really dorky college philosophy professor, right? Like, which to me is like street cred if you're going to be a Marxist. YouTube channels. What do I watch a lot of on YouTube? There's a couple comic book channels I watch. There's a really good comic book channel that covers a lot of like independent comics from the 80s and 90s and 2000s called Strange Brain Parts. Strange Brain Parts is a good comic book related channel. There's a guy who's a channel called Mary Marvelite that does like Marvel Comics history overviews. For new comic book stuff coming out, I watch a channel called Near Mint Condition. There's a channel called, I think it's The Thrifty Typewriter, that does a lot of TV reviews and retrospectives and stuff that I like.
The moon haunts you!
These arms are dangerous.
Takes cold steel.
Enemy in front of us.
1,000 gods! Back in the game.
Us against the world!
Silver bullet.
I am ready to put on a show!
Takes cold steel.
Dark child! Only 60 seconds left.
Yeah, I see how those stores differ too much from place to place. Like, we don't have Publix here. We don't have Food Lion. We don't have...
Get that vehicle moving again!
I mean, everybody has Walmart. Communist China has Walmart, but...
Down to 30 seconds.
The hunt is on. Open season.
The final tournament!
PlayStation. I was never a big Nintendo console guy. The last Nintendo console that I played a lot of was SNES. After that, I was mostly PlayStation or dabbling in some Xbox.
Hurricane!
Unleash the Vishanti's power.
I'm just dying. Feel the wrath of the goddess!
Another epic victory! Big win!
Okay, so I think this next one is going to be the last game. And you know what that means? That means I'm going to play the character who I next see in the chat. So I love Daredevil. There's a lot of good Daredevil. I guess I'm playing Magic because my wife said that first. Daredevil comics, Frank Miller's Daredevil, Frank Miller like redefined the character in the 80s. So early Daredevil, like when he's first created, was sort of a costumed acrobat character.
Right here. could make all the difference.
Not super distinct from a lot of other similar costume acrobat
Demonic magic too.
characters. That you, if you want to see me flail about, you should have picked Spider-Man. So then Frank Miller took over, and Daredevil wasn't selling well. And so they let Frank Miller kind of do what he wanted, and Frank Miller turned it into like a crime comic. So like Daredevil, as you know him today from the TV show or whatever, that's the product of Frank Miller. Before Frank Miller, the Kingpin was like a second-rate, was a second-rate Spider-Man villain, like second or third tier, like C-tier Spider-Man villain, he made the Kingpin like a serious threat and made him like Daredevil's arch nemesis. So that all comes from Frank Miller. So you can get all the Frank Miller Daredevil in like 2 omnibuses, in like 2 or 3 epic collections. That's a good place to start with Daredevil. It's evergreen. They just recently published the first volume of Ann Nessetti's Daredevil. She came on not long after Frank Miller and wrote Daredevil for a while. It had John Romita Jr. on art. His art on Daredevil is amazing. So that's worth checking out. If you want a little more lighthearted, if that gets too grim and bleak for you, there's a Mark Waid and Chris Samney did a run that's in 2 omnibuses on Daredevil that's really good and a little more lighthearted. If the other stuff is getting you down. So yeah, that's all Daredevil that I'd recommend. And so now I need a couple of reposts for other things, because I know there was other stuff while I was talking Daredevil. Daredevil hasn't had a lot of bad runs, though, to be honest. The current one by Saladin Ahmed is not great, but... yeah, if you can't afford an omnibus, there are these things called epic collections. There's something called epic collections that are about half the price, that are like paperbacks, where you get a whole bunch of comics. You usually get like, it's like 25 comics in one book for like, and you can get them for like if you go to cheapgraphicnovels.com, you can get them for like $35. It's got like 25 comics in it. So yeah, epic collections are a much more affordable way to do it if you can't afford the hardcover omnibus. With Marvel stuff. No, it's, St. Paul says gods of the nations, but a lot of modern, especially evangelicals, aren't comfortable with the idea that the Bible ever talks about gods, plural, right? And so they sort of retranslate things accordingly.
I'm more dangerous.
But the original text and Second Temple Jewish texts talk about gods plural all the time. They refer to angel, what we would call angels or angelic beings, as gods. They refer to departed saints as gods. Like, it's just commonplace. So...
Lightning strike. Pulse charge. Fire. Hey, Dee, enjoy the amplifier. Pulse cannon.
I mean, the English Orthodox Bible, I think, that Brother Kleinwerk did, is pretty good. I mean, it's...
Tremble before
it's pretty good. It's not, you know... I mean... There's never going to be something that has all of my personal peccadillos unless I do one myself. And even then, I don't know that I'd recommend anyone else buy it. because like it would just be all my own personal opinions, and not all my personal opinions and pet peeves and stuff. Not all that's correct. You know, I mean, obviously I think it's correct. That's why it's my opinion, but I know objectively, I'm sure there's stuff in there that's I'm wrong about, you know, so. Any other reposts or questions, as this game seems to be drawing to a close? Yeah, Saint Theophylact is basically
down to 30 seconds.
Cribbing from and explaining St. John Chrysostom.
It's spider time!
To actually type it all up and go through and do it, doing that translation probably took me about 2-3 weeks. I mean, it's possible. I don't think that's what Christ was aiming at. I think that was a Greek turn of phrase that St. John Chrysostom was identifying. But I think that's more related to kicking against the goads in Christ's original usage. But more important than that, right? More important than that is the question of what was St. John Chrysostom and what was St. Theophylact? What were they aiming at by making that connection, right? What was it they were teaching? That's the important part, right? Not, is that, does that totally check out in terms of what the original meaning of the text was, right? But yeah, so that was the last game. So thank you, everybody. My schedule's lightening up a little now, so I may have some more streams. I know that it's been a little while since I did one, but I've had a lot of extra services for feasts and stuff over the last couple of weeks and things going on. So we'll see here at the end of August. Maybe we'll get in a few more. So thank you, everybody.